Greetings, heathens and heretics, and welcome to another beer-fueled heavy metal waffle fest. Although no Padre this week, so probably a little bit less waffle than usual. Instead, we've got a couple of new faces to the podcast. Nigel and Heather, who are joining us to talk about their new thrash-tastic project, Chupacabra. Am I pronouncing that right?
Chupacabra, yes.
Chupacabra, yeah. Okay, so yeah. And in typical In the Abyss fashion, I'm sure there'll be plenty of other tangent-y based nonsense going on as well, but let's see what happens. Welcome both to.
Thank you.
As I say to everyone else, 2 hours of your life you're never going to get back. and thank you for coming on, and cheers to a Friday evening.
Cheers. Thank you for having us.
It's been a rough week.
Are you drinking out of a jar?
He's very posh.
Well, actually, I got this from like a metal bar. This is going to sound really fucking knobby, but I got this from a metal bar in Chicago about 10 years ago. I went to this metal bar and I was like, fucking no. And it was such a cool place. And I had such a cool night that they were selling glasses. And I was like, I bought a couple of them. So
you didn't steal it then, in true British style?
Yeah, everyone steals them normally, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. Who buys pint glasses?
I should have done it.
Or pint jars for that matter. And it looks a little bit cloudy what you're drinking. What is it?
Well, I got this. I got this free load of beer on this subscription thing, and most of it was horrible. But I got a few IPAs that were quite nice. So I'm drinking this, which is New England IPA from the Garden Brewery in Barcelona.
It looks like the old ITV Channel 4 test card that used to get to the end of TV. That's one for the kids.
It's Mondrian, isn't it?
It's what?
Mondrian.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Sorry, art reference. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, right. Should know that. Anyway, we've got you on here to talk about your EP that's about to drop, 45 with Ashes, 3-track EP. We love it. It's an absolute fucking ripper. And from what I've been seeing on social media, I think most people have got a similar opinion. So you've got to be pleased with the initial reaction to the single you dropped.
Loving it. Yeah, it's been awesome actually. Getting a lot of love, which is just amazing. Considering it was like a really sort of little project that we did. It hasn't been released for a couple of years. We did it in Nige's bedroom. It's just really about us, really. It wasn't really meant to be. We didn't expect any of this, so it's great. It's really great that people are digging it. How do you feel, Nige?
Yeah, that's the weird thing, right? Because I was expecting it to be. I was expecting, a few kind of closer Twitter contacts to be like, oh yeah, well done, Nige, it's really good. But it went way broader than that, and had so many people loved saying, oh, it's great, and blah blah blah, even like people I didn't really know. And then it's been on various radio. It's got quite a lot of radio play. Admittedly, just like small localish stuff. But there's that, and then of course there's the tie up with DX Ferris and the Slayer book and so on. So it's just kind of gone way beyond where we ever thought it would, just from one single having dropping, so
it's really cool. So go on. It's
that's it.
I was just going to interrupt each other all night.
I'm bad at that, sorry.
That's right. Look, so the single you dropped, Burn the Clouds, is the impression that we get listening to it is it has a target. Let's say that, and it's somewhat pissed off. So yeah, what is it? What is it about? Is it about what I think it's about?
It's not. The target isn't men, if that's what you're coming away with.
Not so much men, no. But
the target is the system.
Yeah,
the target it's my kind of, and this is the strange thing because it's just all my angst really just coming out. I don't really kind of set out to write a song about a thing. Like I just kind of ad lib stuff and stuff comes out and. That's just kind of what came out on the day. And it's kind of ended up, I have this kind of deep-seated resentment about the imbalance of society. It is feminism, but it's not against men. I love men. Most of my favorite people are men. But the problem with, patriarchy fucks up men just as much as it does women, The problem is the system, the construct. True. In fact, I think it's probably actually worse for men than it is women in a lot of ways,
Yeah, that's a fair point. I've never heard anybody say that.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to get dark on you, but I think there's a lot of really, really big consequences for men from this whole, the strong man image and all this sort of stuff. It's really unhealthy, isn't it? And in politics, it's just awful. And that out of balance. I'm going to move these dogs. I'm sorry.
I think Is this the first? These are the first dogs we've had on this podcast. I think we've had cats, but we haven't had dogs.
They're play fighting on the floor. So yeah, and the effect it has on politics is an out of balanceness. You've got a lot of kind of ego. You've got a lot of kind of, I don't know. And it seems to me, if we had a balanced society where you had feminine energies and male energies as well, we'd be a lot better off. So the song is kind of like, it's all fucked. Fuck the whole thing. Pull up a chair and just watch them burn themselves to the ground. So Burn the Clowns is like, they're all a bunch of clowns. Just fucking, let's roll on and watch them burn themselves to shit. And that's the anger. It's like, oh, just fuck it. It's fucked. And that's what came out. That was the vibe behind it. And like I say, I didn't intend it to be about that. It just kind of just ended up that way. Like with a lot of my songs, if I try and write it about a thing, it just, I can't do it, and it'll be shit if I try to do that.
Yeah, the best one's always going to be something that comes naturally, and it's
yeah.
Don't try too hard, kind of thing.
Exactly. So it'll generally, when I'm in that process, I just make up sounds really, and then words sort of start coming out, and it kind of crystallizes into something. And then I realize what I'm singing about, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's about this, and it's kind of connected with something in there that I'm pissed about usually.
And that man there comes up with the riffs to go with it. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting because, just to give you a bit of background, so now Heather has become a pretty seasoned sort of front woman and lead vocalist, but this EP, or these 3 songs were the first songs that she had ever sung lead vocals on. So I knew her as a bass player. So we'd been in a band sort of pre-COVID that was more of a kind of a doom stonery metal thing, called Witch, WYTCH.
Of course, yeah.
We had like a very Sabbathy singer, so the whole vibe of the music and everything was very doomy and Sabbathy. Kind of imploded shortly before COVID, and you know, obviously nobody was doing anything. But anyway, the thing about Heather was that Heather and I had, after that band had imploded, Heather and I had started to try and kind of get something else off the ground, and Heather had done a little bit of vocals in that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, fucking hell, you know. So, you know, that sounds really good. But anyway, so when I'd started writing these riffs and so on, after a while, I was like, because I was originally going to do it all myself, sort of Hellripper style. But the big difference between, well, apart from the fact he's fucking brilliant, the big difference between me and James is that James has got fucking killer vocals as well, whereas I'm the worst singer in the entire fucking world. You know, I can't do Dickinson style singing, I can't do Cookie Monster style singing, I can't do thrash kind of shouting, I can't do any of it. So there was this kind of elephant in the room. I was like, well, at some point I'm gonna have to I'm either going to do it myself, which I knew would just ruin it, or get somebody else. And I was like, oh, fucking Heather sounded good. So yeah, I got in touch with Heather after like a year or so, you know, and I said, hey, do you want to do lead vocals on this thing I'm doing? And Heather was kind enough to say, well, yeah, you know, I'll give it a go, but you know, I've never done lead vocals before, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. Blah blah blah. And I was like, well, no, it's going to be better than what I can do. So let's give it a go. And I remember she sent through. I think.
No, hang on, that's not what I said, is it, Nigel? I was like, holy shit! I hadn't seen you for a year, and you've just popped up out of nowhere, and you've like literally went to ground for a year. I didn't see him, didn't speak. No one saw him. He was just gone. All right, it was lockdown. A lot of people were just gone, but he was just like completely vanished into thin air. And then a year later, he comes out with an entire thrash album, and he's like, "Oh, you know, do you want to have a listen to this? If you want to do something with it, listen to it." I was like, "Fucking holy shit, this is amazing! That's what you've been doing for this whole year." I was like, "Yeah, fucking right, I do. This is killer." Like, yeah. I was so impressed by it. It's, but I was like, "Oh, you know, but you sure? Because this is amazing, and I've not done lead before. I'll give it a go. See what you think." So that's what I said.
Yeah, you're okay. But,
yeah, that put you right. Yeah.
I remember, that's very kind of you, but I remember you sent through, I think it was the verse of Burn the Clowns, and you were like, "Oh, well, I've had this, I've you know, see what you think." And it was literally just Heather yelling into her phone with the music playing in the background. And she goes, "Look, it sounds really shit, but see what you think, and I won't be offended if you think it's crap." Blah, blah, blah. And I was just listening to it, and it was pretty much as you hear it on the, you know, as you hear it on the single. I was just like, fucking hell, this is amazing. And don't forget, I'd never heard Heather do lead vocals before. So I guess I was a bit like, I wonder what it's going to sound like. And it was like, fucking hell, this sounds incredible. So yeah, it was all on from there, really. And I think it sounds, yeah, I'm really happy with how it sounds, because I think it has 1 foot, the music is very much 1 foot in the sort of thrash, old school thrash, which is obviously where I'm coming from 100%. But I think with Heather's input as well, that's kind of brought it slightly sounding more modern and more fresh. So it doesn't just sound, I don't think it sounds just like I think if it had just been me doing it, it would have just sounded like a sort of a poor rip-off of old 80s thrash. Whereas I think with Heather's vocals, it's just brought it more modern and more fresh, which I think is kind of pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that chorus, how it sort of sags into the chorus, I really wasn't expecting that. It almost comes at it from a very different angle. I think that balance with the vocals kind of, I don't want to say it took me out of it. It took me sort of sideways, almost down a different route.
Oh, interesting.
So,
yeah. I wonder if that's what it is then. Maybe it's kind of, it was going along like you'd expect a normal old school thrash song to go, and then suddenly it takes a bit of a left turn. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
The chorus is almost a bit hardcore-ish, because the way you deliver it is like proper in your face and proper aggressive, but it's at a different pace to the rest of the track, and it's just so much more in your face. I'm with Ant. It kind of comes sideways a little bit. It comes out of nowhere.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting, yeah. There's quite a lot of, I think, as Heather said, so we've got 11 songs written into, like, the music's done. I think a couple of them probably aren't quite up to scratch, so let's say 9. So we've still got 6 left to do. And I think a lot of them probably they're not all exactly the same, obviously, but I think a lot of them have those sort of tempo change, quite sudden tempo changes and little bursts of melody here and there. It's not just kind of 100 miles an hour all the time. Most of it is, to be fair. But yeah, that change of tempo that's in the chorus of Burn the Clowns, I think that's quite effective anyway. And so that
that's been a lot of
it's important. It's important to have that change of tempo. We've talked about it quite a lot on here, especially when we're talking about death metal. Is that if it's just a million miles an hour, you get bored of it really quickly. You need that bit of change of pace, a breakdown here and there, even a bit of a chorus and a bit of a hook. You've got to have it, otherwise people will lose interest.
Totally agree, and I would lose interest. It's got to be, it just becomes just monotonous, doesn't it, if it's all the same all the way through? So I like a bit of, like, change it up, make it interesting.
I mean, it's why I can never really fully get into like grindcore stuff, because to me that's sort of, I guess it's obviously they started from a point of view of doing what Slayer were doing, but then kind of doubling the tempo again. I just think by doubling the tempo, for me, I'm not saying that music's crap at all. It's just that for me, then it just becomes, I'm going to sound like my mother now, but that just then becomes, it sounds like a noise. Do you know what I mean?
It's just noise, Nigel. It's just noise.
Can't hear what they're saying.
Exactly.
Can't understand the lyrics or anything.
My dear old mum. But yeah, so for me, when I hear grindcore, some grindcore, I hear just a kind of a big blur. Whereas for me, it has to be it has to be hooks and grooves and not necessarily melody, but I think there is melody in a lot of, there's a lot of melody in Slayer, even the really fast.
There is. There is.
It's not just monotonous.
It's dynamic. So that's the key for me. It has to be dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is the two of you then? I mean, what is your musical backgrounds then? You say you two were in a band together before, but have you been doing this sort of for years, or is this something fairly new? Or
no, I've been
way too long.
I've been writing songs and riffs and shit for years and years and years, and been in a couple of bands that sort of, you never really know how close you are to making it. But I was in it wasn't a metal band. It was a pretty sort of heavyish indie rock band, I guess, about 20 years ago, which I joined. And we had for about 6 months, we had some label interest, and we did an Italian or a Northern Europe, Italian and Slovenian and whatever tour. So we played some dates over there. And we supported a bunch of bands that were pretty big, like Block Party, remember them? And
remember them, yeah.
And bands like that. We had a producer that had worked with the Strokes, so that was kind of pretty interesting. But it wasn't metal, it wasn't. So I wasn't really necessarily into the music. I guess it was more kind of I was playing guitar in a band that was, pretty active. So that was cool. But yeah, but other than that, it's just been the fucking slog of, putting bands together, writing songs, playing to nobody on a rainy Wednesday in February, going home.
There's always a lot of that, isn't there? Yeah.
There's always a lot of that. And I think Heather's probably the same. I think Heather's probably had more success than me, though. But yeah.
I've been in a lot of bands for sure, haven't I? I wouldn't ever call anything that I did success.
You painted yourself blue.
Sorry?
You painted yourself blue.
Oh, I played the beer killer naked. Yeah, that was funny. But that wasn't, I wouldn't, that's not my marker of success.
Right, hold on. I've been to the beer killer. It's not the biggest place in the world. You played there naked.
I was painted blue. It was Halloween. I didn't have an outfit, so I just went naked and painted myself blue. The funny thing was, I didn't consider, how sweaty it is on stage with all the lights and stuff. What I didn't consider is that my bass strap slowly rubbed the blue paint off one tit throughout the entire show. So I was just the Blue Lagoon monster, just with one bare boob by the end of the show, which was quite funny. Do you remember the birdcage in the beer cellar?
No, I've only ever been there. I went to one hardcore gig there. That was it. So
it had this sort of huge birdcage thing. We were like a weird sort of circusy band, and we had steel walkers and some weird art stuff going on. And there was a contortionist in the cage, which I thought would be hilarious to climb in there with her. And then I realized that my bass was bigger than the actual cage bars, and I had one end of it poked out one side, one end, and I was sort of leaning back like this, rocking out, and then I got stuck, and I had to play the entire song just on my back like this, stuck in the cage.
No offense, Nige, but
rock fail.
Musical history is more interesting.
I know. Much more interesting. I've never painted myself blue. I've never
got stuck in a cage naked, painted blue.
If ever you take this to the stage, if ever you go live, Nige, you've got to paint yourself blue. I think it's a must.
It'd be hard enough to get him on stage, let alone that.
Nobody wants to see me naked, blue or not blue.
Yeah, I've been lucky actually. I've been in some bands with some really interesting people. Really,
sounds like it.
So, yeah, I was in a band called 9 Miles Down. I don't know if you heard of them.
Not familiar.
Actually, that got taken out by COVID, unfortunately. But we were set up to have a tour with British Lion as main support with British Lion around Europe.
That's cool.
Really exciting. Really, really exciting.
Isn't
Eddie.
Yeah, the guy in it's Adrian Smith's guitar tech, isn't he?
Yeah. And the singer was in a band called Psycho Motel as well. It's all very
Psycho Motel. Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. So that was really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, COVID happened and everyone went their separate ways. But yeah, really good guys. I was in Hell Bastard for about 5 minutes. That was quite funny.
Oh. Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird.
I can't. Yeah, they go all over the world. There was a Russian tour, and I've got kids. So I was like, I can't do it. I can't. So it was really, really exciting. I really want to do it, but I just can't.
Life gets in the way, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. So I've been lucky enough to be around some really interesting people in bands, but not kind of done anything like that myself yet.
So the rest of the EP, then.
Yes.
The other two songs, which nobody else will be really familiar with because obviously it's not out yet. So tell us about the other two songs. And you've got title track "Fortified with Ashes." What's the sort of story behind these? Is there a story behind it?
Yeah, there is. It kind of comes in a lot of ways. Like I say, I don't set out to write a song about a thing. It just kind of comes out. But what tends to happen is things come out as analogies, and it's certainly the case with "Fortified by Ashes." So in there, it's kind of like I'll connect with some emotions in me, and then I'll just kind of get out of my own way and just ad lib shit, and then try and see what it's about, and then kind of make the words a little bit more poetic as I go. So that one, the emotion behind that is that I'd been through a really, really traumatic part of my life. The whole EP is just my cathartic therapy, venting all my shit, and that's why it's so raging and angry. I just gone through this really, really tough patch. So that's what all the emotions kind of swirling around were from that. But then I tried to make it a nice story as well. Like Burn the Clowns, that a lot of that emotion, like repression and imbalance and just feeling of like, oh fuck it, or just and destruction of everything. 45 by Ashes came out as it's kind of the Phoenix thing. The 45 by Ashes lyric, Nige picked that as the title for the song because he liked that one line in the song. And it refers to being kind of built of your own ashes that you've been burnt to over and over again. It's kind of like and the story that came out is of like the witch trials of a girl that's been had 16 lives and been burnt over and over and over again as a witch 9 times each time. And again, it's all mixed in with repression and oppression and patriarchy. I mean, that's the epitome of kind of anti womankind, isn't it? Burning us at the stake, right? So that's where it went with that. But it's all an analogy for the amount of times I got burnt to the ground and built myself back and got burnt to the ground and then just came back with just rage. So that all those lyrics are threaded through with this story. And it kind of ends up, it starts out kind of being really about kind of the Spanish Inquisition and religion and the witch trials. And then by the end of it, it talks about, sort of retribution and coming back stronger when you've been burnt to the ground. That kind of vibe.
Nice.
It's heavy shit, man. You shouldn't ask me what's in my song.
Yeah, it is. No, but it is. It's as we found with Tailgunner last week, and the way Tom was talking about their songs and the thought process that goes into the lyrics and the research. It's all that I love that process. Not being a songwriter, it's fascinating to me how people get from nothing to that, and the process to get to that point. I find it fascinating.
Sure.
Yeah, and I really love that as well, because I think that, as I said, I really, having grown up in the 80s, being obsessed with thrash, which is great, but I didn't want, it's that whole thing about one foot in the old school, one foot in the modern. What I didn't want to do was, which would have happened if it had been left to me to write the lyrics, so I can't write lyrics, but I didn't want to end up going for the kind of, Satan raping a virgin type of lyrics. I just wasn't.
Are you saying heavy metal lyrics are predictable?
I think it's kind of that's kind of all been explored already. A
little bit, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like fucking hell. I love those first 3 actually Slayer records and stuff. I mean, I'm a fucking huge fan of Slayer, right? I love all that stuff, but I think it's kind of been done, and I didn't want to. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really think about it either way. But when Heather came up with these lyrics, I was just like,
choice, did you?
I was like, no, this is fucking perfect, and I think even over the past, since we've had the EP out, the single out, and we've been doing a bit of PR for the new songs, working with the Clawhammer, the PR agency that we've been using a little bit, who have been brilliant. They've been asking for things like, what's the song about? And I've been saying to Heather, are you sure you want to kind of be this kind of open in public about what the songs are about? Because obviously they're really personal and really raw.
Yeah.
But it's like,
interesting.
I love it. But I love it.
It's really put me up against it with my own, I've had to decide what I prioritize, because to me, being authentic is so important. And I was like, this kind of crossroads, do I be authentic and authentically describe my experience and what this part of me in this song is and what created this? I can't, what do I do? If I just whiffle waffle about some vague and sort of cover it up, I'm completely betraying myself. I'm betraying everything I believe about music. I just couldn't do it. So I was like, okay, here we go. It's all going to come out then. It's just, and yeah, you just got to
go big or go home, innit?
Yeah. I mean, it's my truth. It's what it's about. Those emotions were there. They're not now, fortunately. They were there, and that's what went into the music, and it's just the truth. So
no, I think it's refreshing. I think, like you say, with thrash metal, it's easy to write things about fucking nuclear war and all that. It just does get a little bit predictable, and as fun as it has been over the years, it's to have a bit of a different take on it is always gonna. I think that's what people are like. I think that's what people are liking about it. It has got a fresh take on what we know as thrash metal.
And I think it's really hard to be, I think it's really hard to have a fresh take on thrash metal, right? Because I think it's quite a narrow, as Metallica proof, right? So it's like, if you go if you deviate from what people count as what's real thrash metal, everyone's like, fuck you, you sold out. But if you don't deviate from it, everyone's like, oh, you're just writing the same album 10 times, know. So I think it's really hard. I mean, none of this was intentional, by the way. We didn't set out to be like, right, we're going to do a fresh take on thrash metal. It just it turned out that way. It's all kind of by accident,
I can't do anything else. You're going to get what's in there. I can't write a song about a thing that I'm not fucking angry about. I can't scream my face off into a microphone about something I don't care about. It's got to be something that's deeply personal to me. Otherwise, it's just not going to be. It's going to be shit, isn't it?
Yeah,
I can't scream like that about Satan and virgins. You know.
Well, and I think it's interesting that, you know, obviously Heather found the lyrical and vocal part of it really cathartic, and it was like her yet shouting about the tough period that she had in her life. And I think I went through at the same sort of time, I was going through a really shit time as well, in my life. And I think that's where the riffs came from as well. You know, it's like, because as I said, I've been writing riffs for a long time, with varying degrees of success. But I think with these, not to say that they were easy, because writing songs is never easy, but all of those riffs came. I remember I wrote the whole of Bird and the Clowns with under an hour. It was just like bang, and the whole thing was just like there, and I was like recording it almost as fast as I could. And again, I think it was because in a similar kind of way, you know, it's like because I was in a really hard place, going through a lot of really hard stuff, I was really frustrated and really kind of filled with my own kind of rage and stuff. And I just wanted to, that's how, you know, so I can't sing about it. So I guess that was where that came from, you know. So we were kind of worried, because if we have to write anything else, you know, I'm pretty happy these days. So,
you're going to get grief rage from me.
It'll come.
Plenty more where that came from. Yeah, I'm going through grief at the moment. So
actually, the past week I've been in writing mode, and Heather hasn't heard any of this yet, but I've written some pretty sick riffs. So I'm pretty happy.
Send them over, man.
Yeah, I will. It's still, it's sounding pretty good.
I want to talk about the artwork as well for a minute. Is, you know, both me and Anthony are, you know, we've got an appreciation of artwork, especially, you know, this man here is quite the illustrator, and it kind of the artwork's always important, I think. And I like this. Who did it? Who did that illustration? Who designed your logo? Where's it all come from?
This is like,
because we picked it out, didn't we, from a bunch of, we were sort of choosing. Do you know who actually did the artwork?
I actually don't. You know, it's really terrible.
Nice.
Because obviously we were doing everything. We had no idea whether it was going to be successful or not, all of this thing. So we were like, well, let's do it on a bit of a, you know, let's spend a little bit of money on production, and let's spend a little bit of money on the artwork, but let's not spend loads of money. So literally we just bought it. It was a pre-existing piece of artwork that we bought.
We trawled through for hours though, trying to find. I was like, it needs to be something that looks like what Fortified by Ashes means. It needs to be female symbol. It needs to be strong. She needs to look like a queen. She needs to be really sort of in parts. And yeah, and that was the one we trawled through it, and it was like, how about this? How about this? No. So it comes out.
The sort of skeletons and skulls. No. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, right? But it's like, that wasn't what we wanted to do.
It doesn't suit what it's about though, does it? It's
the colours as well that are very different. Yeah, they properly pop. It's
it's lovely, isn't it? It really did jump out, that one. Yeah,
it did. As soon as we saw that one, we were like, I think we had like 3 or 4, and we're like, that's the one.
Yeah. What about the logo then? Where did that come from?
Oh, that was just me in Photoshop. I'll just put the logo and the thing on the artwork, and off we went. Yeah, it's on a shoestring. It's very homemade, all of it really.
It's the best way. It's the best way. It's the album artwork now. I mean, we talked about this loads of times on here as well, that, you know, obviously vinyl's having very much of a resurgence at the minute. So it's great to see album artwork on a proper 12-inch square again. Whereas, you know, just on digital music, you're almost losing that opportunity to have something really nice. I mean, obviously, I know you're only releasing this digitally, but just that tiny little square. But this artwork does still pop, and that's quite hard to achieve. That, I think. So you've done well.
Oh, I'm pleased.
Right choice.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really pleased, and we would love to be able to release. You know, we would love to do a physical release, because I'm obviously a big fan of. Yeah, as you know, I'm a big vinyl guy.
I'd love to do vinyl.
I actually don't own a CD player. For me, I'm like, I buy vinyl, and then I have stuff digitally if stuff doesn't exist. You know, obviously I can't buy everything on vinyl, because vinyl these days costs a fucking fortune. But stuff that I really love, I buy on vinyl, and then otherwise I just have it digitally. But I would love to do a vinyl run, or a CD run, which I wouldn't be able to listen to myself. But never mind. but you know, yeah, I mean, you're right. I think the artwork's a really important thing for us, and part of that is having it on a bigger, you know, having it on a. It's because we're old, right? Having it on a
exactly, yeah, exactly, and merchandise as well, isn't it? T-shirts, it all matters.
Well, I think we're working on a T-shirt, aren't we? I think that's one of the things we were going to be doing.
Oh yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah. Just kind of, you know, kind of based on the
finalize it.
Oh well, I'll have one of those. You know,
I'll say
we'll send you one.
Send you one.
So what what's the plan with it then? I mean, this 3-track EP. You say you've virtually got an album written. Is it planned to record that properly, release it?
Yeah. So basically, the plan is at the moment is obviously so we've got the second single, Final Time to Die, is coming out on July the 11th, and then the EP is coming out on August the 4th. You're right. We've got we've already kind of earmarked the next 3 songs that we're going to record. The vocals are all pretty much done for one of them, which is called.
I'd say 2. They're pretty much done for.
Oh, 2. Okay. Yeah. So there's Queen of Swords is pretty much done, right? And then another one, which is as yet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Karen. So those 3, and then so the plan really is to try and keep the momentum going. So I'd quite like to sort of basically get those once the vocals are done, send that off to the guy that produced this EP, a guy called Winter Pryor, who's at Sphinx Studios in Brighton.
He's amazing. He's so good.
Yeah, Heather had worked with him before, and yeah, I just think he did a really, really good job, you know, because again, I was originally going to do everything myself. My production skills are rudimentary, so it would have ended up sounding rough and ready. But I think, again, because we went for this, because we ended up realizing that it was partly old school, but partly more modern, I think it was like, well, let's actually give it a bit more of a modern production values rather than just
fucking the production would be good.
Yeah.
He did such, and I was, to be honest, I was a little bit skeptical. I was like, I wonder if this is actually going to be worth the money, you know. But then when he sent the first one back, which I think was Burn the Clowns, it was just like, fucking hell, this sounds miles better than I could ever have done at home, you know. So we're going to use him again, I'm sure. So hopefully, you know, the idea will be to get the next EP out before Christmas. So another 3 songs. And then I guess we've still got 3 left. But then, as I mentioned, I'm writing some new stuff. So maybe we'll end up doing one of those or both of those or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I think the idea is what I want to do is just kind of try and keep the momentum going and have stuff coming out relatively regularly. And, you know, as I said, it doesn't cost a massive amount of money, and it doesn't, you know, it seems the traction you get from social media and a bit of PR help, you know. As I said, Clawhammer have been fucking brilliant. They've just got it all over the place, you know. Yeah, so I think that's the idea for me anyway. Is just keep the momentum going, keep writing songs, keep writing riffs, you know, and hopefully it will still be good, even though we're both happy, whereas we used to be both really fucking angry.
I'm still fucking angry.
We've noticed.
Yeah. So in terms of the recordings stuff, because it seems to be, you know, it's been going on for like 30 years that people have been able to make music in their own rooms more and more. But I think post-COVID, it seems like there's a lot of home recording going on and people sending their stuff to producers or mixers elsewhere in other countries and whatnot. So is that the approach that you took?
Yeah, we did it all at home. I mean, I've been using Logic Pro for 10 years or so, really for just writing, you know, just for writing and arranging stuff. But I think I tried to teach myself a bit more of how to do it because, again, the original intention was for me to do it all myself. But yeah, everything was just done at home. You know, Logic Pro, Amp Sims, you know, just did it all at home. Once I'd recorded all the music, sent it off to Heather. Heather came up with some ideas. Then we got together, recorded the vocals together, and that was it. And then sent off the basic stems to Winter down in Brighton. And then about a week later, he sent them back and was like, "Here you go." So yeah, I mean, it's pretty. To say, songwriting isn't easy, but in the overall scheme of things, it was pretty straightforward, really. You know.
It's mad, like Andy says, how much easier it is now for people to write music in their bedrooms and get albums out. You've got obviously we're talking of Hell Ripper, where that started just him on his own. He does absolutely everything. He is the archetypal one-man band. You got the Seven Doors, death metal album that came out earlier this year. Guy from Cornwall, again, did everything.
Yeah.
Really, really well produced death metal album. Great artwork to it as well. It's exciting times, isn't it?
Dark Throne's probably the one that springs to mind for me. I mean, they've just been doing their own shit for fucking 20 years or longer, you know? I don't know if they've ever played live. I think they used to play live, didn't they? But they haven't played live for years.
Since the 90s, I don't think, no.
Yeah.
No.
You know, and it's like that kind of approach is really, I mean, James is actually really helpful because I don't know him. I wouldn't say I was a friend of his, but I messaged him when I had this in the very initial stages of doing this. And obviously I'd heard his stuff and I was like, fuck, this is brilliant. And I couldn't believe that he did it all himself. And I messaged him on Twitter because we were Twitter friends. And I just said, oh, hey, man, you know, I'd really love to pick your brains about how the fuck you do all this yourself because I'm thinking about doing the same kind of thing, expecting to hear nothing back. And you know what he's like? He's all over social media all the time. Yeah. He literally replied in about 10 minutes and he was like, yeah, man, happy to help. What do you want to know? And I was just like, fucking hell. So he was like super helpful and he's become... I think he's brilliant. I think what Hell Ripper is doing is, even from just a musical point of view, you know, that whole thing I was talking about, he's working in a really narrow niche, right? Yeah. Black and thrash, but he's managed to keep it fresh. With each album, he's managed to expand what he's doing.
Oh, they've taken a massive step forward with the new album this year. Massive.
He really has, but he hasn't lost.
Still Hell Ripper in it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's fucking brilliant. I really think it's, and you know, obviously where we met, right? That gig that the Hell Ripper gig that we met, that was fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. I'm looking forward to seeing them do their own thing in a tiny little venue in the Black Heart in London in October. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Heather, if you can get away for that.
Sure, yeah, I'll try.
It's a tiny
150 capacity, I think, isn't it? The Black Heart.
Probably less than that. If I'm honest.
It's very, very small.
You have to wear earplugs in the audience.
Yeah,
you have to. There's no toughing it out. It's that kind of venue. It's
But you know, I've just got real respect for him. You know, because musically, I think it's great. But I think also how he's approached the whole thing. You know,
completely agree.
Doing everything himself. What I didn't realize until I listened to one interview with him. I can't remember who it was with now. And he basically started it while he was at university, in his university, you know, in his college room. I didn't even realize, you know, like it was that basic at the beginning,
properly from the ground up, and he's reaping the rewards. He really is.
Yeah, he really is.
And now that he's playing live more as well, I mean, they're out on a full summer tour festivals. They were out with Spectral Wound last year, and they're actually getting out and doing shows around the UK now. It's
and he's got a label now, right? Because they're on Peaceful.
He's on Peaceful. Yeah.
You know, and helps. I think that's kind of the real way to, from my perspective, you know, that's kind of really the way to do it, is to kind of build a real momentum that way. You know,
it's interesting you talk about momentum because there's been quite a lot of talk in the industry recently from, you know, massive artists like Slipknot are one for, you know, they've just ended their deal with Roadrunner Records, and Corey Taylor was talking about that they may not do albums anymore. They may just do singles and EPs and surprise drops and things like that because it keeps momentum going. And they can tour that. Where they can earn their money is touring. So release an EP, go out and tour and keep that cycle going.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, you know. And even remember the massive buzz that happened when Metallica dropped 72 Seasons?
Yeah.
What, 3 months ago?
Yeah.
2 months ago? How much do you hear people talking about that now? Not at all.
Yeah.
Even for them, it just the drop off is it just drops off a cliff after a week or two of everyone going, oh my God, the new album. So if Metallica can only keep a momentum from an album going for a couple of weeks, then the rest of us are fucked, you know. you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, doing
that's fucking bleak.
Well,
but then it's not, is it? Because there's so much exciting new music out there that you listen to an album and then it's like, fuck, there's another one coming along, and trying to keep up with it is really difficult.
Exactly. I don't think it's bleak. It's just I used to think it was. I used to be like, oh, it's really sad. You know, I remember the old days when you'd be like going along, but stuff changes, you know, and it's like it's better to embrace it and, you know, releasing we did think about, well, we've got an album's worth of songs. Why don't we record them all? And it's like, well, A, it will cost a lot more money to have 9 or 10 songs or whatever produced. It will take a lot longer. And it's like, well, actually, why don't we just fucking do 3 songs and black them out there and see what happens? And then do another 3 if the response is good. I think hopefully what we're going to do.
You don't think you would ever take this to the stage then and full band and go live? And
I'll wear him down. We are going to play live. I'm getting him.
Yeah, Heather really wants to. I basically decided I wasn't going to play live anymore because I was just like, I've played live for years and years and years and years. It's not, to be honest, it's not my favorite part of being in a band. My favorite part of being in a band is writing and recording, right? The creative process. Yeah. And, I don't know if you know a journalist called James O'Brien. He has like a podcast, and but he mainly interviews actors, right? He does interview musicians and politicians and stuff, but he mainly interviews actors from across the spectrum. Right from Shakespearean actors, theatre actors, right to sort of Hollywood stars and TV stars and so on. And he always talks about the thing that they have in common is called the "look at me" gene. Right, which is basically the thing that people have inside them, which makes them want to perform and makes them want people to look at them and be like, to see what they're doing. And I don't really have that. I'm not a performer, So, but one of the things that I had spoken about previously with James McBain was, he wasn't really interested in playing live either. He preferred just hanging out and writing and recording and releasing stuff himself. But obviously, at some point, he realized, well, look, if I want to take this bigger, then I'm going to have to get a lineup together and take it to the stage. So for me, it's like I'm kind of thawing.
You are. I'm going to wear him down. We will play live.
Yeah, we will.
It's just taking me a long time. Yeah. And we've got Alex on lead guitar, and I know someone that could do drums. We could put band together in 5 minutes. Be fine.
Yeah, and Alex is great as well.
Alex is awesome.
He's a cool guy, and yeah, so it's not a priority for me, but it's not completely out of the question in the future.
I think it's a matter of what the gig is. If it was an interesting enough gig, you would do it, and then we'd get it together. I think that's for
Christmas.
Sorry?
It's time for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's at the moment, what I want to do is really concentrate on getting the songs all together and releasing more songs. And then maybe once we've got to the point of having an album's worth of songs, maybe then we'll repackage everything, release it as an album, and then maybe we'll do something then. I don't know. But,
when I asked you that question first, you were pretty much no. By the time we got to the end of this, 3 minutes later, all right, well, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm getting him.
Yeah.
Heather's very persuasive. It's annoying.
I just want to go off on a quick tangent just for a sec. I've just been sent a photo from Camden Underworld. Our good friend Bean comes on the podcast as well. Has just sent me a photo of John Five's amp. Motley Crue in the Underworld tonight.
Oh, he managed to get a ticket then.
He managed to get a ticket. He's there. And
Motley Crue are playing at the Underworld
tonight. Yeah, under the name Dogs of War.
Fucking hell. Vince Neil won't fit on that stage.
Yeah, I didn't say anybody was going. They're just in the Underworld. And everyone's going to watch from outside. But yeah,
Vince Neil will be on that floor in the pit on the floor, and then the crowd will be around the top bit,
rolling around with his fucking legs in the air. The fat cat. So it did happen. It was they leaked something on social media earlier in the week. This this band Dogs of War playing the Underworld, and it was on Planet Rock, and the ticket price was £19.81. So they kind of got the whole it has come off. I completely forgot about it. I was going to try and get a ticket because it was all on Dice, normally quite easy.
You know what?
And, that would be pretty cool. I mean,
if I was still up in bloody Surrey, then I would have kept my nose to the grind. But I'm stuck in a bloody, shit pit of Kent.
He's in proper Kent.
I'm in Margate at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's meant to be all full of hipsters now, isn't it?
I don't want to say full, but it's certainly got a bit more that way in the last few years. Yeah, it's a curious blend of alternative types, even though there's not many places to go, and basically UKIP.
Okay. Well,
It's
Okay.
yeah, it's got a reputation for being a bit Brexity, but it's a mix. I mean, I'm in what is basically semi-detached suburbia at the moment. A bit further down the road, it's like you wouldn't know there's a beach unless you turned a corner. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's compared to 20 years ago when my parents first moved down here, it's improved a lot. But that's because they've had the money for the Tate Modern and Tracy Emin's input. They've made the old town a bit nicer and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, they've got what is basically an outdoor mall going towards Ramsgate, which has basically killed off a high street, but I think it was never that kind of place anyway. It's a resort now. And what's good is they've got this summer series of gigs going on at Dreamland, the old theme park.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got loads of people coming down, from London or wherever, just for a sort of an evening out. Queens of Stone Age played, they sold out a few nights back. So yeah, came out to cinema the other night, heard Go With The Flow from 2 miles away. So
Amazing.
sound. But yeah, nothing more metal than that, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm only down here for circumstance temporarily, but I've got so many gigs lined up already. It's like, right, the amount of money I'm paying just to get the train up here, I can't really do anything more. But yeah, if I was in Surrey tonight, I would have begged to have a night off and see if I could get tickets for them, because
yeah, I completely forgot about it, but I think the tickets sold in sort of 10, 20 seconds kind of thing, 450 or something like that. So
I mean, it would be pretty cool. I actually saw Motley Crue back in the day on the Dr. Feelgood tour, and I've got to say, that was when it was Thin Vince rather than Fat Vince, and that's when they were sober as well, though. So it was like, and I've got to say, they sounded fucking brilliant. They really did. It was it was Skid Row, White Lion. Remember White Lion?
I remember them.
Yeah, they weren't very good.
My brother was a big fan. Yeah.
And Motley Crue. It was the NEC in Birmingham, and it was but Motley Crue sounded fucking great, man. I think of those hair metal bands, I think they were probably my favorite. I mean, I used
to love them. Yeah, I saw them at Donington years and years ago.
Wildside, for me, like Wildside, you can't fucking deny how great a song that is, man.
Back in the day, it was, yeah.
I've never really been the biggest Crew fan. I don't know what it is. Yes, they've got some bangers, don't get me wrong, but Kickstart My Heart's probably my favorite Crew song.
That's a good one.
But other than that, I'd probably enjoy it in the underworld, don't get me wrong, but
yeah, that would be, I reckon it would be. I wonder how they're going to do the miming, though, because apparently none of them are playing live.
It'll be all right then, won't it?
Yeah, if they're going to get found out anywhere, it'll be in there.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
But apparently even Nikki Sixx is miming, though.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. He's like the worst bass player in the world, and it's like, no, you don't need to mime that. And John Five's a great fucking guitar player, so he doesn't need to mime.
Yeah, surely he's not. That can't be out.
And Tommy Lee's a great drummer, so I don't understand why he's miming as well.
I don't get it. It doesn't sit well with me at all. It really doesn't.
No, me neither. It's
how do you mime on drums? Just slightly not hit them. Like, in a small venue, you can't mime drums.
You can't mime drums in the underworld. I mean, you could do it on this stadium tour they're doing. I suppose nobody could see it, could they? But I mean, in the underworld, you
can't not hear what you're playing on drums.
Right.
But it's like
electronic kit, of course. Then you could.
Well, yeah. But it's like all the grief that Axl Rose has got for Glastonbury last weekend, which seems to be more related to the TV coverage than it does anything else.
Oh yeah, because they said that the vocals sounded really shit, but apparently people who were there said it sounded all right. And
yeah, they kept cutting out on TV, and half the time you couldn't hear him. The sound was dreadful, but it's like I would still rather that than they just mimed it in. I don't get it.
No,
it's pointless, isn't it?
It's fucking wrong. We used to slate like bands on acts on top of the pops and that for miming.
Yeah.
And now that it's not right. If you can't do it, just give up and fuck off.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like Kiss. I mean, Kiss are the classic example, right? I mean, and especially it's worse. I think it's worse with them because, and I'm a Kiss fan, but I think they've just become beyond embarrassing now. And it's like, especially it's worse because if you go back 20 years, they were the ones being like, if you can't do it anymore, don't stay too long at the party. Yeah. And it's like,
No, that's all right.
guys, you know. So it's just fucking embarrassing, and it's kind of, I think luckily in our genres, death metal, thrash stuff, I don't think there's much miming going on. It all feels still it used to back in the day, and it's all, as far as I can see, very live.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. It's this strive for perfection, I suppose, but there just is no fucking point. If Kiss kind of get around it because of the spectacle, I suppose.
Right.
I'm not the biggest Kiss fan. I went to see them once just to make sure I'd seen them. It's a phenomenal show. I mean, they're unreal live. They really are. It's incredible. But if I was a massive fan and I found out they were miming, I would feel really let down by it. So,
You'd want your money back, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
I would.
Yeah, and that's another thing. The fucking price of tickets. I mean, you're just getting ripped off. You pay 80, 90, 100 quid to see a band, and they fucking mime.
Yeah, where's my refund?
And the thing is, as I think because you probably saw the photos, but I went to the second night of Metallica in Paris last month, and two things. One, they look and sound better than they did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, because of the way that the stage was set up, there was a point where obviously I was very close to Lars, and it's like anyone who disses Lars for saying he's a shit drummer is like, that guy was fucking playing. You could see his feet. He was playing, and it's like they were not miming. They were not miming. It was all live, And I just think and they're a band that they probably could get away with miming, and they could get away with filling their sound out with stuff. But they weren't.
That shouldn't be impressive, though. That's the most basic. We shouldn't be impressed by bands for not miming, should we?
No, I agree. No, I totally agree.
What's it coming to?
What did the 72 Seasons stuff sound like live?
Really good, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't know, I'm going to be controversial because I'm an old fucker, and I was like, so when I heard when I was a teenager, but my formative years were Metallica in the 80s. One of my 2 gateway albums into metal was Ride the Lightning, So when I heard the Black Album back in the day, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? And I hated it, and I never listened to it. And I don't like it to this day. I don't like Load. I don't like Reload. I really like the Garage Inc., the covers.
Yeah.
But 72 Seasons for me is the best album they've done since Justice.
That's interesting. See, I stopped listening to the Black Album as well, and I've never been back.
72.
I've heard good things about the new stuff.
It's not, it's not uniformly good. I think there's some filler on it. There's some stuff that's too long, but the songs that are good, like the highs, I think are more for me are more exciting than anything that they've done since, with the exception of Sad But True, which I think is a great song. So the night I was there, they played You Must Burn, which sounded fucking brilliant. They played 72 Seasons, the song, and they played If Darkness Had a Sun, which is not my favorite song, but it sounded good,
Yeah.
But they were just, I mean, I've seen them so many times over the years, but it was the best I've seen them for a long time. They
look like they're enjoying it. I think that's the key.
They really do. It's particularly Hetfield, he's like slim and healthy. He looks healthy.
Yeah.
And he's happy, and there's just a really good vibe going, And they were
that documentary, though, man, that was painful. Like, fair play,
some kind of monster.
Like, fair play to them for bearing it all and everything else. But I couldn't watch it. I was like,
no.
You know what? I've gone back and watched it in recent weeks. We talked about it on an episode, I think, and we've slagged it off many times. I've gone back and watched it because it's on Netflix at the minute.
Yeah.
You know what? Watching it now that I'm 20 years older than the first time we watched it, I actually appreciate it a little bit more than we did back then. It's so warts and all.
Yeah.
Some of it seems a little bit dramatized, but it is proper fucking warts and all stuff, and I can appreciate that. They were clearly in a very dark place.
They really
at that time.
Yeah. They were totally dysfunctional, and it was probably a lot of it was coming. A lot of it was coming from Hetfield, because he was such a control freak, and and for me, he's the soul of that band,
Oh yeah, yeah. If you took him out, you'd have no Metallica left.
you know, and Lars does a lot of the arranging. You know, apparently he does a lot of the arranging of the songs and putting them together, which is obviously very valid. And he's the sort of great businessman and great marketer or whatever. But for me, Hetfield is like, even, you know, so when I was learning to play the guitar, I wasn't interested in what Hammett was doing. I just wasn't. I was only interested in what Hetfield was doing, and it's why I'm not a shredder or whatever now. I was only ever interested in playing rhythm guitar, and I was just obsessed with what Hetfield was doing and what Scott Ian was doing. You know, for me, it was all about riffs. Right,
one of the best rhythm guitar players to walk the earth, James Hetfield.
Incredible, just incredible. You know, and so precise. And watching him sort of from pretty close last month, it was just like, man, he's still so good, and it's still the attack that he has on the strings, and it's just so precise, you know.
Yeah.
And it's fucking hell. And you know, Hammett, you can hear he's a bit sloppy these days. I know he gets a lot of shit for his lead guitar playing and stuff, but he's a little bit sloppy. And although he did sound pretty good that night, but Hetfield was just fucking on it, man, absolutely on it. And it's just like, mate, you know.
Yeah, it's great to see. We could do some indoor dates now, though. This is the thing. Like, yeah, I'll come to Maiden in a minute, but I saw the last time I saw Metallica indoors was the Death Magnetic tour when they did Earl's Court. There's been nothing since. It would be nice just to have O2. I think it was more recent than that. Maybe
it was
with Machine Head.
Last time I saw Metallica indoors was back in 2003 when they did that second stage at Download.
Okay. Oh, yeah, forgot about that as well. Stuff like that.
Since then, it's just been outdoor festivals.
Yeah, and, so we do need some indoor shows. It would be nice. It's too many bands have just taken that. I know they fill stadiums. Obviously, you can't get away from that, but it would be nice for them to just do arena tours instead. They don't need the payday.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
And you're right. I really admire them for what they're trying to do and making the live experience different. That whole thing about
agreed.
songs, and you know, that's really cool. But you're right. I mean, I think if they did one more, let's be honest. I mean, how many more tours have they got in them? They're all 60-ish, aren't they? I think they just 5 more years, maybe 10 years. You know, and it's not like Elton John. You know, it's not, no disrespect to Elton John, but it's like their music is punishing to play.
Yeah.
I can't see them still doing it when they're 70. Well, really? I don't know.
I wouldn't have thought so. I'd be surprised if you think about the amount of the years between recent albums, right. I'd be surprised if there's another one.
You know, so it would be nice to be able to, if they could do one more arena tour. I don't know if they ever will, but it would be nice.
Yeah, it would be. Well, like I said, like Maiden, you're going to see Maiden on this tour next week.
Next Tuesday in Birmingham.
Yeah, we're going next Friday in at the O2. I haven't seen Maiden for 15 years. Haven't seen Maiden indoors, I think, since Hammersmith and 2005.
If for you, if you haven't seen them since I don't think I've seen them. Oh no, I saw them in the O2 in 2010.
Right, okay.
Final Frontier tour. And maybe another one. They did another one of their retrospectives, didn't they? I think that the O2. I actually went through the list on Wikipedia because they got all their tours listed and documented, and I sort of working out how many times I've seen them. And I've seen about 13 times at this point. So
I've seen them. I think I've seen them on every tour as well in the past 10 or 15 years or so. So it'd be really interesting for you, mate, to see what you think of them having not seen them for 15 years, because that's
somewhere back in time was the last day at Twickenham.
I was there,
and that's kind of where they since Brave New World, I think that's when they were at a bit of a peak. They were absolutely on fire then, so it will be interesting to see where they are now. But the reason I bring it up, what we've just been talking about, is I read an interview with Bruce Dickinson saying the reason they're doing these arena shows, they've done the payday, they've done the festivals, the stadiums, all of that, when they want to try and give something back to the fans, and they've tried to keep the ticket price down as much as possible. I think tickets were about 70 quid with fees, and we've just paid more than 80 quid for Judas Priest next year. So so I think they've just about achieved that. It's about a price.
I mean, I'm sure they're still going to make a big, healthy payday on the on the arena. They're not like they're losing money, right? It's just
40 quid a t-shirt as well. So
Yeah. I mean, there again, it'd be interesting to see how many more tours they've got in them, especially with Bruce Dickinson's health issues and stuff. It's like, which I know he's healthy at the moment, but his voice has changed.
It's going to catch up in it. Yeah.
It's like, I just hope they don't, I hope they don't do a Kiss and kind of just carry on beyond their years. I guess
Bruce has always said that, hasn't he? That they don't want to become dinosaurs like Stones and all that, and they want to go out on a high. But the one thing I've noticed though is this tour, he's playing with a mic stand. I've never seen Bruce Dickinson with a mic stand, and he's sort of seems to be sort of front and center a lot more. He's still all over the place like he is, but it almost seems like that's been toned down a little bit. Whether he can't keep up with it anymore, which is understandable.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's, what is he, 63? Is he 60?
Something like that? Yeah. And he's mental on stage. He's just fucking everywhere.
Yeah, it's like, so if he has to sort of tone the running around down by 30%, but that means he can still sing a full show, then I'd rather the singing.
He still flies the plane everywhere as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's a madman. He really is.
Interesting character.
I watched the YouTube clip earlier on. He turned up at a military party of some kind. Somebody's leaving party or whatever it was, and they had a covers band, and he got up and played the Trooper with them.
Apparently, he's a super. So my sister's husband is a British Airways pilot. And so he's happened to have met him a couple of times. He's not a metal fan at all, my brother-in-law, but he's happened to have met him a couple of times. And he said, he's a really fucking mellow guy and just super down to earth. And so he's like an amazing singer, an amazing frontman, an Olympic fencer,
pilot,
airline pilot, a really nice guy. And it's like,
obviously, shook hands with Barclay, but I picked that up cheap the other day from the second-hand bookshop, the biography. So.
Cool.
Have you started reading it yet?
Oh God, no! I'm still reading other books. So my current read is upstairs. No, I'm reading a book about the KLF at the moment. So
oh my God,
that's
the ones that burned the
Yeah, I used to be in a band with the guy's nephew. Really, really interesting guy, Arthur. Some amazing stories. Amazing.
Oh, Bill Drummond or Jimmy Corti?
Corti, yeah, it's Arthur Corti.
Yeah, they're one of those artists. So they're not metal, but yeah, in terms of 90s dance, it's something else. I mean, that needs a film, but it will never.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, there should be. And they're still doing like art stuff. Did you hear about that? They're driving around in an ambulance with like a coffin in the back. Not an ambulance, ice cream van, doing like crazy art. So it's become, they disappeared off the face of the earth and said they were coming back in 23 years. They actually have. And they released a book, and they're touring around in an ice cream van and like crowds of people following them around and building a pyramid from bricks made from people's ashes and stuff. It's mad, it's madness. They're amazing.
They haven't changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. That's I remember the KLF from the early 90s, but that's fucking
all the anarchism and all the art, just not with the music. No,
all right, fair play. I'll leave you lot with that. That's not one for me. Look, let's get back to Chupacabra. We've been off on tangents like we usually do. So, so what date is it out? Let's give it a proper plug.
So the next single, which is called Final Time to Die, is out on July the 11th. So a couple of weeks. And that's like, more of the same, fucking fast, fucking angry.
Angry.
Touches of Slayer. It's probably more angry than Burn the Clowns, actually. It's like, it's so that's that. And then the EP is out on August 4th on all good streaming services and probably bad streaming services.
The necessary evil. But yeah, and Bandcamp, if anyone wants to give us any money to buy it, but I wouldn't. I'm not going to push anyone to do that. I'm fine just to get it out there, and we're just really grateful for anyone that listens to it and likes it. So that's it. And then take it from us. We've heard a lot of music this year, and look, we're looking forward to seeing what you do going forward. This EP is great. If you're going to do more of the same, fucking wicked. And look, if you get on a stage, then even better. You know,
Well,
it's going to happen. It's clearly going to
It
happen.
is going to happen. See, Nige?
yeah, I know it'll be a momentous occasion for everybody.
We'll talk a little bit more about that offline. But yeah, look, I urge people to give it a listen, give it a blast. It's great to hear new metal. British, we need to support British music anyway. Representing the West Country,
Absolutely,
it's good for me being Cornish. So you know.
Oh yeah, whereabouts in Cornwall are you from?
I'm from Red Roof.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
So I'm proper Cornish. None of this Nuki bollocks.
Proper
I'm
Cornwall.
proper fucking Cornish.
You're proper West Country, right? So us Bristolians, when we say we're from Bristol, West Country, you're like, fuck off.
You're a northerner to me. But been in this neck of the woods too long. Every time I go home, the accent comes back within seconds. But yeah, I've been away from it for too long. But yeah, look, listen to it. Please do. I'll put links up all over social media anyway, and on our link tree. Just go and check it out if you like it heavy, fast, and angry, which it is.
It's all of those.
Yeah, you will definitely enjoy it.
August the 4th, isn't it? The EP's coming out, Nige?
Yep.
Is it August the 4th? Is that right?
August the 4th.
August the
Just by
4th.
the 11th for the single.
11th.
August the
Well,
4th.
I'll make sure that when we're sat on the campsite at Bloodstock a week later, we'll make sure everybody fucking hears the comment. So
I'm actually going to Alcatraz that weekend. I'm a bit gutted actually that I'm not going to be at Bloodstock, but I'm going to be at Alcatraz in Birmingham, and if I can try and knock up a T-shirt before then, maybe I'll do a bit of self promotion, which will be really lame, I know, but
just get out there and give shit away. People love that, you know.
I might do. Maybe I'll just
While we're doing plugs, can I just plug my other band, which unfortunately isn't going on anymore because we very sadly lost Jake, the guitarist. Yeah, passed away very suddenly in December. And I've just released the EP that he wrote. I say he because it's all him again, in lockdown, in his bedroom. Literally the most talented person that I've ever met, let alone had the pleasure to work with. And it's so tragic and sad we've lost him. And the CD was printed, and I took it to Black City Records today. So it's come out, it's on all major streaming platforms, and all the proceeds go to Sophie Lancaster Foundation. It's the band is called Cybervoid, and the EP is called Order Through Chaos. So give that a listen as well. If you like your tech metal, crazy, just as angry, it's me singing, it's the angry, just as fucking angry, but very techy and talented guy, miss him every day. So
I did have a listen earlier because I saw Black City posted. I saw it posted on social media that it's available to buy in the shop. Yeah, I've had to listen to it. Yeah, like it's good. It's good. Tragic story, but it's look,
it was really,
get the music out there. It's
it was terribly sad because so I mean Heather started singing with Cybervoid after we finished the Chupacabra recordings, and I only saw you guys once live, but you were fucking amazing, you know. And it was the first time I'd seen you because obviously, as discussed, Chupacabra is not played live, and so I'd never seen you be a front woman. And I was like, "Fucking hell, you're amazing!" But then obviously also Jake was just this obviously phenomenally talented.
He was phenomenal guy, loveliest guy. Phenomenal.
Yeah, he really was. And I had a really nice talk with him, and I didn't know him very well, but I had a really nice talk to him. And then 3 weeks later, or whatever it was like, oh my god, it was like came out of fucking nowhere. Yeah. So it's terribly sad. So everyone who's listening, who can
get out there, buy the CD. It's all for charity. It's for a good cause, and it's fucking also fucking amazing. Best thing I've ever. No offense, Nige, but best thing I've ever had the pleasure of being on and in a record store and doing live. Just. Yeah, what a talent.
Yeah, anybody in the Bristol area, get down to Black City and
get down to Black City Records, buy yourself a copy.
Yeah, we've got a great fucking scene in Bristol actually. It's just, you know, with the Black City Records, which is the West Country's only metal-only record store and probably one of the only few in the country.
There's two, I think.
That's proper record store, proper old school. Lovely. Go in there like.
Well, we've sort of got a metal record store in Margate, so
really?
Yeah, that's what some nice things is. It's pretty much a metal record shop.
Yeah. So there's that, and then literally just around the corner, like 1 minute walk from Black City Records, is the Griffin, which is like a metal pub, metal and real ale, you know, which is basically my idea of heaven.
Great combination, yeah.
Our epicenter of the metal scene here, isn't it? It's great.
fucking brilliant, and it's really small. And it's just like downstairs, or the ground floor is like the pub, but then upstairs is this little venue. But they managed to get big band, not big as in Motley Crue, but big-ish extreme metal bands playing, and it's just fucking. We've played there a bunch of times together and separately, and it's always full. And it's just because it only needs like 30.
Great vibe. The atmosphere.
It needs like 30 people in there, and it feels fucking full and really pumping, So it's wicked. So the Bristol scene's in really good shape at the moment. There's a bunch of really cool bands. It's really supportive. Everyone really it's just a great community,
Well, we'll be down in October for municipal waste and a bit of retail therapy as well. So
we will, and we're having beers.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be a messy weekend. But guys, thanks loads for coming on. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great to hear, all the stories behind the songs and where we're going. And yeah, I'll say it again, fucking just go and listen to it. It's free. It's on fucking streaming sites. Go and check it out. It's a great EP. So
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with a different kind of a guest as Wallowing are joining us. Not really sure what to expect. Hopefully they talk like normal people and it's not just bleeps and noises, some kind of alien fucking being. I got no idea what to expect, but I'm really looking forward to that one because Earth Reaper is one of my favorite albums of this year. So
they've got a connection with Bristol as well, right? Because it was with
Waterstones, which is how I discovered them in the first place. This fucking video on Twitter of them in Waterstones, maddest thing I've ever seen.
Me too. Did you see that? It was fucking unbelievable.
They did it again a couple of weeks ago as well.
Did they in Bristol?
Yeah, in Bristol. Yeah. So I've been badgering them for ages to get on because I want to just talk to them about that.
Yeah.
So they finally given in, and in some form, human or otherwise, they'll be on with us next week. So look forward to that. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you then. Stay metal.